What is going on? Great job on that previous panel, everyone. And we are here to talk about the sports industry, right? And the new sports trading card panel. My name is Travis Wright. I am one of the hosts of the Bad Crypto podcast and the Nifty Show, which was the very first show about NFTs. And my cohort and I, Joel Com, and I have minted well over 1 million NFTs so far on the Wax ecosystem, and we're on the Wax Advisory Council. And it's my pleasure here to have with me four wonderful folks. We have Vance Spencer. He is the co-founder of Framework Ventures. Vance, how are you doing? Nice
Great.
Little head nods. We know what you. There you are.
Yeah.
Matt Dyer, who is the head of sales and marketing at Zilliqa. Matt, where are you at?
How we do? I'm in Scotland, actually.
You're in Scotland. Excellent.
And it's not Bonnie, Scotland today. It's raining.
It's raining. Actually, there's a picture of me and Joel in a kilt right there, as we're Scottish landowners. We own a meter of land, so that makes us lords, technically.
Are you a true Scotsman, though?
I got a little bit of Scot blood in me, I believe, but I just bought that thing online, so it wasn't even an NFT. We got Joe O'Rourke, who is the co-founder of the Decentralized Generation Network. Joe, how are you doing?
Wonderful. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Beautiful. And we have Cooper Kunz, who is the CTO of Calaxy. How you doing there, Cooper?
I'm great. Happy to be here.
Great stuff. So sports. I'm sure everyone in here has collected sports cards through the years. That was what I would do is I always go to my grandma's house. I'd be like, hey, Grandma, can I have $5 so I can go get me some baseball cards? And she'd be like, yes, baby, here's some money. Here, go blow some more money on these sports cards you don't need. And so, but they've evolved so much over time. I actually want to start it off by showing this. This right here is my favorite NFT in the sports space so far. This is Forever Mamba. This is by Boss Logic, and this thing is amazing. There's only 400 some odd of these, and this is an infinite object. So you can actually get your NFTs converted in and put on as it's sitting on my desk. So Kobe's just shooting that shot forever over there. So we're going to talk about sports. We're going to talk about where things are going. So let's start it off and say, let's reach out to the panel. We'll start off with Vance. How are NFTs changing the sports collectible industry right now?
Yeah, so I'm Vance. I started Framework. Prior to Framework, I started a company called Hashleads, which was actually one of the precursors to NBA Top Shot. It was 3 years too early. It was about in 2018 when nobody was really using blockchains. But the things I learned from that experience were primarily negotiating rights deals with major sports leagues is very, very difficult. There really is, layers and layers of complexity and legal work that you need to get there to get these rights packages off. And so that's why we haven't seen a whole lot of, competitors to Flow or Top Shot or things like that in the present day. My hope is that, we're transitioning not just from, people putting content on chain, but also some sort of rights scheme where anybody on a blockchain can go up to an NFL API, an NBA API, and get standard licensing terms for anything that they might want to produce on chain. And so I think that's kind of where the industry is going. Right now, we're in this middle ground where people are putting content on chain, they're playing with it, they're trading it. It's relatively fun, but I think the big shift will come when we get programmatic rights on chain that are accessible by developers, anywhere on any blockchain at any time.
As long as they get their piece, they're normally pretty happy about that. Matt, what do you think? Give us a quick intro of yourself, and then how do you think NFTs are changing the things?
So Matt Dyer, head of sales and marketing at Zilliqa. We are heavily into the NFT space ourselves. And I think when I think about NFTs, I used to play professional soccer myself in a low-grade team in Scotland. And when you think about the engagement, you used to sign autographs to people at the end of it. I always used to think, what do they think about when they've kind of got my signature and they take it away and look at it? I think if you think about NFTs and what that can start to offer, there's a massive disconnect at the moment between the players and the kind of the supporters. So I start to think if you've got this NFT play, people can get the digital rights to the NFT. You can start to add the utility around the NFT, whether that's the meetup, whether that's the football boots, maybe that's the hat trick and the goals that I scored that day. And then they can look at the NFT, start to brag about it, show what they've delivered. I do think you're going to start to increase the engagement from the supporter back to the player, which I think is critical, especially in an age where everything is moving digital. So I do think the football teams of today are worried about the esports players. So I think this gives them the opportunity to drive quite heavily into the digital space.
I agree. Especially, we'll talk a little bit more about some of the loyalty things that can be done with NFTs and sports teams. I think there's a lot of exciting stuff going on around that. Joe, co-founder of Decentralized Generation Network, give us a quick little background in you, and then tell us what excites you about the NFTs in the sports space.
Yeah, so thank you for having me again. I'm Joe, co-founder of dGen Network. I also do the Mid Condition podcast as well as Wrecked podcast, which Travis, you've been a guest on. And so, been around the space for a little bit doing content. But the thing that I'm most interested in, I think, is just in sports and NFTs in general is what kind of access it can give not only a fan but from maybe the team to like the franchise owners to their fans, right? So what I think is really interesting about NFTs is if you're a consumer or a business, the NFT actually, takes users, which what we're used to, and makes them owners, right? And then, so what does that look like from an access standpoint to a player to their favorite team, or a fan to their favorite team, or an athlete to their fans, or things like that. And I think, on top of that, the provenance and validation of verification of physical sports cards that we're used to in the past, right? What can that do for us going forward?
Love it. Great stuff. Cooper, CTO of Calaxy, tell us, what is your vision of this whole thing in the sports land?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Cooper. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at Calaxy. Calaxy is a platform for content creators, celebrities, and athletes founded by NBA player Spencer Dinwiddie, who recently joined the Washington Wizards. He is our co-founder and CEO. So we are building a platform for all types of content creators, influencers, athletes, for all the types to launch their own social tokens and collectibles. We're actually, one of our advisors is Roham, and we work pretty closely with the Dapper Labs folks. And I think the Dapper Labs folks talk about this really well, where they're actually working with the NBA so closely that they know that they're helping the NBA reach new audiences. So not only are NFTs able to help quantify people's interest in the sports world, able to give them digital scarcity and bragging rights over their collectibles, and a newfound discovery way that wasn't really possible before we brought those collectibles into the digital realm. But also they're helping the NBA expand their reach and get more engaged fans. So it's a really, really interesting marketplace. And Calaxy is super, super excited to be helping take this to the mainstream, to the masses, and to all different types of professional athletes, not just in the NBA.
So since you brought up NBA Top Shot, right? So NBA Top Shot seemed to really be the first adopted use of NFTs in mainstream, right? It's like people started thinking, whoa, NBA Top Shots. And then, you started seeing all these different communities popping up around it, all these different Twitter channels and different analytics tools were popping up. And you just saw this meteoric rise of NBA Top Shot in like February and March. And then you've kind of seen this tapering off. And I think, a lot of people got frustrated a little bit. It is a beta technology, right? They were launching. And then there was just so many people coming to the table at once that I don't think that some of the servers could handle it, because then they'd be like, well, we're going to launch a pack, so there's no marketplace going on right now. But, like, what was it about NBA Top Shot that just took the NFT world by storm? Why was the sports fan base the one that was so receptive to the adoption of NFTs first? Anybody can jump on.
Is that a question pointed to me? Okay.
Well, you can answer it first, and then I'm sure other folks will have a question as well. That's kind of a follow-up for you, sure.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, I think our pal from Framework Ventures, who just dropped off, spoke to it well. And getting the rights and the actual IP restrictions to something as sensitive as the NBA is a huge, huge deal that must have taken months to years of work. So I think that they started with the IP that people really cared about. And then from there, they actually executed on it tremendously well, in the same way that you saw them execute with CryptoKitties in 2017, 2018. So not only did they bring unique IP rights, they also brought in interesting marketplace dynamics, incredibly high quality user experience and graphics, and they built things that people would be proud to own, and things that were just really, really well made. So I think that that's one of the things that made them unique. And it also aligned tremendously well with the revamped or the bringing back of the NBA season through what was, a lockdown period. So I think that the rise and the fall of the NBA Top Shot season that you talked about, overlapped with what you would expect from the NBA season as well. I think you see with this stuff that they're doing in the NBA Summer League, where you can actually check into a kiosk and get a collectible for physically being at a game, is kind of just the start of how you see them expanding over the next couple of seasons.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, the NBA is ripe for highlight reels, so it's quite an easy concept to kind of show and people to buy into. And even as a Scotsman that doesn't know much about basketball, I can kind of see it. I think the other things as well, which is critically important, I think the last panel talked about the UX UI. Obviously, that's a massive thing. If you can hide the concept of blockchain from the end user, again, massively important, which I think they did particularly well. The fact fiat on-ramp, again, enable people to buy who probably weren't crypto native, I think is an important facet of it. I think if we're going to drive more adoption into the NFT space, I know it might not sit with the purists that well, but I think this hybrid method of custody on platform to get people to adopt the tech before they kind of have the private wallets, etc., is probably a key thing as well in terms of why they were successful.
Yeah, I think also the big thing for me is kind of, you said it, Travis, when you introed the question, right? The communities, right? The communities around it, and what bigger communities are there than sports fans, right? Everybody's got their own faction. I mean, fan is short for fanatic, right? So these people are drawn to, as Cooper said, like the IP, right? This is huge brand, and when you have those kind of brands, it's easier to build the hype around these things. So I think the communities and the fans, the fan bases are ripe for NFTs, right? So all kinds of sports, whether that's the own teams or the whole league in general, I think that's a huge piece of that. And then the other thing too is, how easy is it to share, right? It's shareable digitally with, people that we maybe have never even met, right? Talking in Discord groups about the moments that we just minted or that we just collected. And the other thing too is the pack opening experience. When we're talking and relating it back to sports cards, that's one of the more exciting things from a sports collectible standpoint that you can do is the thrill of opening a pack. So all those things combined with the community, I think, is part of the reason it resonated so well.
I agree. I remember when so Joel and I were as I said, we started paying attention to NFTs when CryptoKitties came out, and it wasn't until Garbage Pail Kids launched on Wax with their pack opening when we said, "Whoa, here it is. Here's what we can do now." Because on Ethereum, right, it's like you're going to mint one NFT, and it's going to cost you quite a bit to mint one NFT. You know how much it would cost to mint a pack of stuff inside an NFT on Ethereum? Would be just ridiculous. And so, I think somebody on the previous panel had mentioned, as these blockchains get built specifically for NFTs, well, Wax was built specifically for NFTs, right? And so, you can actually mint, I believe it's 1,000 NFTs for $1 or something crazy like that. And the fact is that it's over 200,000 times more efficient than Ethereum. Right. And in this pack experiences, and we saw that and we said, you know what, when we launched Blockchain Heroes, it was like, we got to have a kick-ass pack opening experience, because as a kid, my favorite thing is like, oh, I'm going and I open up this Wax pack, and here, oh, with a Fleer card, I might get a sticker, or with the Topps card, I might get a piece of gum. It's this tactile experience. And I think those pack openings really open up something to that. And so that really was one of the things that I think that events, like not just sports, but events are going to be able to utilize something like this. Because imagine, ticket stubs suck, right? Like I have a ticket stub that I printed off from my printer from probably the very best Kansas City Royals game of all time. It was the 2014 wild card game. and they were down 7-2. They come back and win the game, and then they end up making it to the 7th game of the World Series, right? Well, my ticket stub is complete crap. It's a piece of paper that I printed. It was wadded up in my pocket. In the future, I think tickets will be NFTs. And then once you get to the venue, those tickets can unlock, and they could create a pack opening experience where your ticket turns into an NFT that you could only get that day at that event. And concerts will do that, and multiple different sporting events, I think, will do that. And that sort of taps in, Cooper, what you were talking about with NBA Top Shots actually going and giving away physical NFTs at events. Let's talk about that, because I think physical events and NFTs are going to be that next thing. That now that the economy is sort of opening up, and maybe it won't again, or lockdowns or whatever, but sporting events and being able to actually get those physical, or those physical digital things, right? Let's talk about that. Where do you think that's headed, Cooper?
So I think NBA Top Shot's showcasing the future of what they expect to see with the NBA and probably other sports leagues. You check into a physical location, you get exclusive content that may or may not be digital. You may get entered into a raffle that's more exciting than the NFT that they give everyone who attends the game. I think what we're seeing now is everyone seems to have this clear picture of how memorabilia, ticket authenticity, all of these kind of worlds are that are already digitized are being moved on chain. And I think that we're going to start seeing the bridging between on-chain and off-chain, specifically in terms of checking into physical locations, or even types of NFTs that you can redeem for different services. So Spencer, our CEO, actually just did a really cool, his first NFT offering, where you can buy an NFT that's backed by a pair of shoes that he wore in an NBA basketball game. The shoes were actually drawn and say HODL crypto on them, and he wore them in the 2018 season in the bear market. So you could imagine, other NBA players are kind of giving him shit for, being bullish on crypto in a bear market. And now you can actually buy an NFT that's physically backed by this pair of in-game shoes. The owner of that NFT can choose to trade it on a secondary marketplace and have the NFT continue in circulation, or you can redeem and burn the NFT, and they'll deliver you the physical shoes if you want to showcase them in your office. So I really see this kind of bridging in what we call the metaverse between the digital and the physical worlds, with NFTs, with things like in-game content, checking in for physical experiences, or even redeeming for physical merch. It enables a whole new world of price discovery. So Spencer actually auctioned off all the 82 shoes that he wore throughout that season, and the NFT is already trading at an order of magnitude higher than the shoes that he just auctioned off for charity. So it enables.
Was he wearing a new pair of shoes every day?
So in the 2018 season, when his new line of shoes came out, he had custom designed shoes for the entire season. He had 82 different unique pairs of his shoes designed for every single game. So it's
that's
really,
smart
really
for the collectible world, huh? He was thinking ahead.
And somehow, by the stroke of God, he actually saved the one pair of crypto-themed shoes for us to do his first NFT offering with. So you can actually still go buy this NFT if you want to. We can send you the link or something like that. But it's really cool, and I think we're going to start seeing more and more athletes get into those things. And that's really exciting. What we're looking to do at Calaxy is kind of bring those physical worlds together and make more intimate experiences for professional athletes and their fans.
Yeah, I mean, even you see it with like even LaMelo Ball doing his NFT drop, right? And even though it's not necessarily bringing something physical to a collector or a fan, but he's basically tying a portion of his career earnings, right, to some of those NFTs. And that is a really interesting way to utilize this from an athlete to fan standpoint as well, in my opinion. So, just beyond the actual physical collectible, there's just so much that you can do from a player's intellectual property that, where that they have to do essentially now away from NBA Top Shot, right? So NBA Top Shot, they're utilizing that player's rights, and they're getting a portion of that through the Players Association. But now, NFT technology allows them to kind of do some of that stuff on their own, not just NBA fans or NBA players, but, maybe some smaller sports or, even I think what you'll see now with the new laws is a lot of college athletes are probably going to get into things like this, right? So, say you see my big Penn State sign behind me. I was a huge Saquon Barkley fan. He was a huge star, and he could never, go capitalize on his, college stardom. But now players will be able to do that, and I think you're going to see that in the forms of, NFT drops, and maybe
is that going to be retroactively? Are they going to be able to, to
that'd be nice. but right. So go ahead.
That is something that we're seeing, actually, this ability to kind of get people who maybe have retired, create an NFT, and then start to play them in a franchise in games that they've kind of worked in before, and then they can start earning revenue off the back of their previous career. So I think we're seeing a lot of interest, actually, in the NFLA in America, with the likes of, Joe Montana, those guys trying to get involved in it. I think a big thing for me, though, as well, is the authenticity around it. I think it's okay having NFTs, creating the utility, I guess, offering access to the sports stars, etc. But I think there's the big opportunity for brands and maybe even the individuals to get it wrong. So I think if they're going to go into the NFT space and start to try and engage with their fans, they need to be authentic and think about, right, how much am I prepared to give up and how much of myself do I want to give? Because I'm not sure that's been fully thought out, to be honest. And I think there might be a big backlash if they don't put a lot of thought into it.
I think that could be really interesting to Joe's point over here. It's like, man, and I was thinking about this before, was college athletes. Like, if you're talking about somebody being able to say, hey, I'm going to get a portion of my future revenue, it's going to be tied into these NFTs, and you can buy these NFTs now. Like, I remember watching Bryce Harper as a 15, 16-year-old kid crunching home runs, 500-foot home runs in Tampa Bay Stadium, right? As a 15, 16-year-old kid, I was like, dude, this kid's going to be an all-star, dude. I would bet money right now this kid's, if I could have bought NFTs on Bryce Harper for a portion of his future revenues, I would have been all over it, right? Because you can see some of those future athletes. I wonder if that's within the law with the NCAA and colleges to be able to do stuff like that. Because I'm starting to see all kinds of different college athletes going off and doing different interesting things with their likeness. Do we know anything about how it's going to pan out?
Yeah, well, that law just changed, right? California came out with the law, the name, image, and likeness law, and like that, I think they're probably the only state that has it right now, if I remember correctly. But it's going to be a slippery slope that goes to every state and every college, right? So you're going to start seeing it more and more, where now they can capitalize on their image, I think.
Yeah, I think when you look at the Olympics at the moment, well, the Olympics is just obviously gone. In the UK, there's a lot of funding given to the athletes, but the ones that obviously don't perform lose a lot of their funding. So I'd like, similar to what you said, if you see somebody maybe have an index fund on different players, maybe you kind of invest in that, and then they can get funding to make sure that they can then compete in the Olympics, and you get a portion of that. I do think that would get a lot of buy-in, and with a liquid market globally, I think, yeah, the opportunity is massive.
I think we're all highlighting on what's, obviously an evolving regulatory environment, from whether it's from IP management and restrictions to as soon as you start tying in, expectations of future earnings. I'm sure any securities lawyers that are listening to us are having a field day with the implications. And Spencer, our CEO, is the first NBA player to actually securitize and tokenize his contract, offering upfront investments in his future NBA contract. Don't know if NFTs are the right vehicle for that, but I expect those mechanisms to become increasingly popular over time. And when you talked about what we're doing, working with blockchain technology in general, the whole idea is to remove intermediaries, allow people to connect that directly with the technology infrastructure or the people or the services that they want to. And I think what we're seeing with the NCAA and college athletes, where they no longer have these gatekeepers and are hopefully able to monetize on what is their own imagery and likeness. I think that's a textbook example of the way that this industry is going to help people and remove what are historically terrible gatekeepers.
I want to talk about what Topps has done, right? So Topps has been doing stuff well, for one, Topps was one of the very first ones to create digital collectibles with their different apps. They had the Bunt app. They have they had an NFL Hike app or something. There's another one that had an NBA one. But they actually built out a digital team, and they were doing digital collectibles, but they were not NFTs. The team that went off from MLB's, from Topps digital team, they went off and they created Quid, Quidd, which is a full-on digital collectible thing, which is now diving into NFTs. Now, one thing I think is interesting for Topps is, and one thing that I think that is reason they're getting into digital collectibles is, like, for example, just about 6 months ago, a 1952 Mickey Mantle rookie card in a mint 9 condition sold for $5.2 million, and Topps made nothing from that. Now, imagine if they were able to have that on the blockchain and they were able to get 6% of every transaction. Now, that's what happens with these smart contracts, right? Now, Topps has launched their first series back in June on Wax, and they sold over $2 million worth of cards in their initial launch. And since then, they've sold 538,000 secondary sales, which are a peer-to-peer, where somebody got the card and sold it to somebody else. And they've generated $15.2 million in secondary volume from that by launching their digital collectibles on Wax. Now, to me, and I've seen some of these cards, and a lot of people, they always talk about NBA Top Shots, but they don't know necessarily what's going on Wax. So maybe, like, what are some of the things that you guys have seen that other, leagues or other things that we've heard about NBA Top Shots? What's some other cool stuff that other athletes or other leagues have done? Like, we've seen Gronkowski do one of the things, which to me seemed like kind of just a money grab. We've seen Patrick Mahomes, which I actually participated in that one, got a couple of NFTs, but still, these were not for the everyday man. Nobody's coming in and spending $5,000, $10,000 on NFT. Most average Joes. That's why I like the NBA or the MLB Topps launch, because anybody can come in and spend $50 on a pack, or $20 on a pack, or $100 on a pack. So what are some of the things that you're seeing that other leagues or athletes are doing that are really interesting to you?
I think Tom Brady has a drop tonight with DraftKings. So
yes.
They just partnered with DraftKings, and they're doing with Tom Brady's autographs project, I believe. And
autograph.io.
Yeah, and there's a drop. I think it's tonight and then the 13th. And actually, I was looking again at, like you mentioned, that some of these NFT prices that we see are astronomical. I feel like I thought tonight I saw that the highest tier was like $100, and they were limited, so not very many people will get them, but that's pretty reasonable, right? And then I think there's a more premier drop on the 13th, I think, but that's one that came to mind that's happening now. And so then you see someone like DraftKings, who's a huge user base, huge, daily fantasy, gambling, all that kind of stuff, now partnering with somebody like Tom Brady for an NFT marketplace. And now you're like, oh man, that's going to hit, that's mass, right? That's mass adoption style with how many users that they have eyes on them every day. So that's one that comes to mind for me.
And you're talking about the GOAT, right? You're talking about Tom Brady, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I'm originally from Kansas City. I live in Puerto Rico now, but it's like Tom Brady's like been the bane of my existence. Like, I don't know how many, like, so many Chiefs teams almost got through Tom Brady, and then Tom Brady went. So autograph, like, to your point, they have Tom Brady, Tiger Woods, Derek Jeter, Wayne Gretzky, Tony Hawk. They have Naomi Osaka. They have some of the top athletes. Like, you're freaking Tom Brady, right? So great point on that. That reminded me to go to Autograph to sign up, because there's a ridiculous sign up process, and you need a 14-character password on that one, which is super secure. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So what do you think, Cooper or Vance is gone now? We got Matt and Cooper there. What do you guys think?
I think from an NFT perspective, we do a lot of stuff in Europe, Southeast Asia, and I think it's the accessibility and the price of it. I don't know, maybe fractional ownership of NFTs to allow a lot of people to get into the space is important. A cool thing that we've seen is, I don't know, Terence Crawford, obviously American boxer, and what he's looking to do is create an NFT of himself, have a representation in esports that can kind of fight, I don't know, maybe fight Pacquiao. He beats the Pacquiao in the esports. That levels up his NFT. So that owner of the NFT obviously earns a reward. And then from a Terence Crawford perspective, he's going to earn revenue from his NFT, then fighting into the esports. So the question is, does he make more money in the digital space than he does actually fighting for himself now? So we're looking forward to seeing that play out. And I just think there's a whole lot of new business models out there that we're kind of seeing being explored. So yeah, it's an exciting time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, from our end at Calaxy, you know, we have dozens of professional athletes already signed up to be on our platform from, you know, most of the major sports leagues. Most of these people will be issuing social tokens and being able to accept services for those types of social tokens. But when you already have your community buying into your social tokens, participating in your kind of economy, as we like to call it, it becomes very, very easy to issue your own collectibles and NFTs as well. So similarly to just how we did with Spencer, how we're doing physically redeemable merchandise backed by NFTs, we're excited to be taking that to market, you know, over the next couple of months with, you know, dozens of professional athletes. If you want to get a sense of the types of people that we're working with, I highly recommend visiting Calaxy.com. It's Galaxy with a C. You can sign up for our email list, and you'll be notified as soon as we start doing some drops. As you see some of these professional sports leagues coming back into season. And the school season starting for you know, college athletes. So I would say, you know, I'm obviously bullish and excited about what we're working on. I think we have an incredibly diverse and impressive list of creators and athletes that are expected to be on our platform, you know, over the next couple of months. And you know, I'll say that we might rival Autograph. Hopefully, that'd be beautiful. They have an impressive.
What is the website for Calaxy?
It's Calaxy.com. So it's Galaxy with a C, Calaxy.com. So you can go sign up there. As soon as we start doing some of these drops, you know, we'll email that whole list, and as soon as yeah, should be exciting.
You know, that's one thing we didn't cover, which I think I've been a big fan of, is these social tokens combined with NFTs. Right, you're going to see a lot of celebrities having their own token. Like, why would they post this picture on Instagram when they can connect to their true fans and then maybe sell 10 of those or 100 of those to their fans as NFTs, right? So there's that whole ecosystem of social tokens and NFTs that we didn't really get into. We've come up here to the end. So real quickly, let's start with Matt. Matt, let's you know, maybe finish up with what excites you about NFTs moving forward, and how can people connect with you online? I
think what excites me is giving the actual creator and the people with talent access to what they're entitled to. In essence, you can get me at Twitter, Matt D. Dyer, and yeah, feel free to reach out. I look forward to talking to you.
Joe.
Yeah, I just, you know, not necessarily what excites me, but just wanted to make one more point about what you were talking about with the physical piece, right? So what could be, you know, what if Topps now partners with PSA, which, you know, puts them in the slabs, right? And they all the slabs have their little QR code on them, right?
Right.
And so now that Mickey Mantle, Topps and PSA, maybe they do get that 6% of that $5.2 million sale.
So they should do that. They should. Totally.
Absolutely. And then not only that, right? But then you as an owner can see the entire history of that card. So now you can make sure it's been actually done at PSA, that who's bought it for how much. You know, I think stuff like that, where you're actually then now taking that NFT technology and bringing it into the physical realm, is super exciting as well. And then, you know, you can find us at dGen Network, myself at Bunch You Bets, and on Wrecked Podcast and the Mint Condition. Thanks.
Bunch You Bets. Nice. Cooper.
Yeah.
Bring us home, brother. It's all riding on you.
Yeah, no worries. I'm incredibly obviously excited about what we're doing at Calaxy over the next couple of months. I think, you know, the world that everyone that's on this call and everyone listening to this is excited about is, you know, becoming more obvious in hindsight. We saw NBA Top Shot validate the whole model this past season. Most of these interesting agreements, IP deals, take years, you know, many months to work on. And so I think that now that we validated the model, it's about where we go from here. And I think, you know, once the next seasons come around for every respective sports league, it'll be really exciting to see, you know, how the industry starts to grow, because we really are in kind of the first season, I guess, of NFTs being the new type of, you know, digital trading cards or digital collectibles.
Right on. And I'm going to reach out to you, Cooper, and chat about some stuff. I love what you guys are doing. I know I've actually known Joe here for a long time. He was on our show and I was on his. And Matt, great to meet you. I've been a fan of Zilliqa for a while as well. Still mad the CEO wouldn't give us bad.crypto, but that's another conversation. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in, and keep it nifty.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.